Outdoor cooking is a little more complex.
No, really?
So what's happening?
Surviving this heat, man. I said outside feels like 110 today.
Yeah. It's cooler here today because it's been raining most of the day and just stopped about an hour ago.
You're breeding mosquitoes again.
Yeah. Oh.
You said you're cooking outside?
Yeah, I've got a little area where I can use barbecue, charcoal on wood.
Is that by where you cut the wood over there? By where Tom built that thing? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he's got a child now.
Hey?
He had a baby. Did you know that?
No?
Yeah, that's what I heard. And then Bika, I believe, last time, if I remember correctly, they have a child now.
Huh. Are they together someplace?
Yeah, I think they're in, Oregon.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Hadn't heard. Of course, I can't hear much from anybody because unless I'm beside the phone or within hearing distance, I don't know it's ringing and there's no messages. So.
All right. Would it be better if we left messages if we missed your call?
At who?
I said, when Jared and I are calling, is it better for us to leave a message for you? Just so you know we called, or?
You can't.
Oh, you can't? Oh.
There's no message on the landline. When power is off, no portable phone works. Only one that is plugged in, because Bell Canada has an emergency power wire in their telephone wire.
Right.
So when the power goes off, the only thing with power that comes into the house is a landline. So don't throw your old phones away.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. You're still without power? Or?
Well, what they did was they shut the power off because I wouldn't pay their fraudulent bills. You know what? They sent me a bill for $17,000. I couldn't use $17,000 worth of electricity if I lived the rest of my life from the age of 50 to whatever.
I know. I mean, it's not like you're running a 5-bedroom, children and video games and TV playing, like a normal household. It's not like that, So
no, this lifestyle here, once they killed Tom and kidnapped Jennifer, is like living in a jail cell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, as I said before, be prepared.
Yeah.
The old Scout motto is, when you live in an environment where bureaucrats rule the world, and they cull the information that is sent to those people who are supposed to make the decisions, you never know what will happen. Most of them are the descendants of foundlings who were genetically and socially engineered and send their gene pool forward for at least 4 generations. So Syria is the headquarters for genetically engineered border guards and policemen. And they control the borders through the descendants of refugee immigrants to all countries of the world. Preventing Jennifer from coming into Canada could never be explained unless you're talking treason. And preventing Canadians from receiving the abilities carried by director of nursing with a specialty in long-term care, especially for Alzheimer patients. So when you have a 22, 23-year-old couple of girls at the border, and they only want their group controlling, and an American woman presents herself at the border, 55 years old, with all of her papers as being director of nursing and all that stuff. They refuse entry and turn the person around and expect them to go back home. Well, when you have the Kealeys, you should never expect the normal. We are both survivors, and we don't take no from criminals. So Jennifer outlasted their ability to refuse entry and ended up getting 2.5 years in Canada after being 2.5 years in Ogdensburg, New York, 4,000 miles away from her former home. But eventually, during the confusion of an election campaign, they told the Ontario Provincial Police that they had authority to remove her from the country without seeing any documentation, which didn't exist. The Ontario Provincial Police picked her up and handed her over. And we had to end up getting the cell to rescue her. And now, under the court protection, we're trying to get messages through to the newly elected government, but it's almost impossible since controllers are all descendants.
Yeah.
Whether it be by mail or by email or telephone or media, it's all under control. So we survive waiting for creation to allow them to do themselves in. And from what we know, of course, the group that is now in control has decided that their bureaucrats know too much, have lived too long, 200 years, and they got to be replaced. Their shelf life has expired, and they got to be replaced. So now you have Syria with 1,200,000 refugees taking up positions in most European and American countries. That's how the system has worked.
Yeah. And how it seems, too, it's like whenever, something happens with you or Jennifer, I guess more recently with Jennifer, it makes you guys focus and expose that group, which maybe you might not have done at that time because you didn't have to, right?
Yeah. Creation has a need for people who are not controlled media. And obviously, Jennifer and I have been chosen as one of the roles. For how long? Like the Royal Bank says, let someday be today.
Right.
An explanation of how the world really functions is required by 2020.
Yeah.
And we have a job to do, so every day that goes by puts back the beginning of the project. But you have to have confidence that creation knows what it's doing and is looking for other pieces of the puzzle to be made public so that by 2020 everybody will know.
Yeah. Well, you can see it.
All of this would be behind us by 2011, but here we are 5 years later, still haven't been able to begin the project. The cell won't get the financiers of the project until Jennifer is returned.
Well, I hope I don't have to wait till 2020 for her to come back.
So do I.
Well, you see it on like the mass scale too, as far as on the surface exposing the system now, with everyone finding out how, really corrupt government and politics and police are, and everyone's exposing them themselves with their handheld devices and putting it all over. Like, so it's coming out like this is how things really are, so it's definitely started.
Media can't keep it silent when everybody's got a camera.
Yeah.
See, they receive all the information, but they cull it and only give out the information they want. But with the advent of cameras and telephones, it's just too much. They can't cover it all.
But it's interesting because it was them who put it in there.
Yeah. Well, it's the military that put it in. Remember that all satellites begin their journey through a launch by the military. And the military always replaces the controllers at one stage of the game. If you look all the way back to Egypt, and you have a monarchy that gets replaced along the way by bureaucrats, in between the change from one to the other, either royalty to bureaucrat or bureaucrat to royalty, there's always a temporary period that is controlled by the military.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're the ones who have basically made it impossible for the media and the bureaucrats to keep hidden what they're doing now. Think of French Revolution. Monarchs were in charge. The bureaucracy took over after the military basically made it possible to have all the bureaucrats executed. The guillotine. If you look at the U.S. Civil War, in between the old version of the United States, the original version, and the new version. War, pestilence, famine, and disease are the tools of the turnaround in between. And we've, Zika virus and all of that stuff that has gone on with famine caused by war often.
Is it also more of the mentioning of it as opposed to the actual disease? Like,
yeah,
because it's, there was swine flu, and then there was, Ebola last year, and you never hear of it ever again, and now it's Zika. It's almost just the mentioning of it.
Yeah. What is it about the Olympics? And that comes from the concept. It's all about oil.
Right.
O-L-Y. Oil. What is it about Rio that the media has done everything possible to keep individuals from being present at something occurring down there? You look at all of the events, and if there's 20% of the seats occupied, it has to be a very special occasion, like Usain Bolt running the 100 meters.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, there's nobody there. Why did the media do everything they could against the government of Brazil, president being impeached, Zika virus, and everything was about favelas and how you can't walk down the street without being assaulted and robbed, and
Yeah. Trying to extinguish the torch and showing the kids robbing all the tourists.
Yeah. What's going to happen, or what is happening, appears to me to be the transfer of power from men to women.
Yeah.
Canada has 10 medals so far, 2 gold, 2 silver, 6 bronze. All are women, not a single man.
And what about the pool turning green?
Well, the future is green. That's the code. The past is purple, orange, yellow, and the present is red. So whenever something that was blue ends up looking green, it means you're leaving one environment and arriving at a new one. And listen to how they try to explain how it happened, or not explain how it happened.
Omission. And is it significant? It's like gene pool and pool?
Yeah. And Lou at the Sioux.
Yeah.
in any event, I got to get back to my fire.
Firepower. I hope you stay cool up there.
Well, it's about 5 or 7 degrees cooler now than it's been for 2-3 weeks. So I'm
your water still runs, right?
appreciating the day.
Yeah, your water still runs and everything, right?
No, not on their power. But
Okay,
I have access to a well. Everything I have that functions is due to solar power. And I don't want to get into the details, but
yeah. Yep. Understood. All right.
Solar power is the answer in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta go.
All right, Glenn.
Okay, Danny.
Okay.
Say hi to everybody.
We'll do it. Hey, Jenny. All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.